you want to do this?
Susana estará con un poco de hacer haciendo labor de traducción, aunque ella también es una buena aficionada a la música y a los Pastels, y estoy seguro que va a hacer también una aportación interesante. Y bueno, sentiros cómodos, sentiros lo más confortablemente posible que da este tipo de aula y de sitios tan fríos, y porque se trate o que se consiga eso que pretendemos, que es crear un punto de encuentro y de diálogo entre aficionados, músicos y gente con experiencia ya en la música, como son Stephen y Katrina, y como un grupo de la referencia de los Pastels, ¿no? Así que nada más, os dejo con ello.
I don't speak Spanish at all, so sorry, but I'll try to speak slowly and have a good translator, I think.
Aquí se puede regular el volumen. Susana traducirá, evidentemente, creo que no, y aunque eso retarde un poco la comunicación, pero bueno, es la única manera de hacerlo.
¿Habláis inglés más o menos por aquí? Bueno, yo sé que Charlie sí.
Si fuera acento de Glasgow, a lo mejor me pierdo, pero...
No, lo hemos hablado. We were speaking about your accent just on the stairs, and it's very, very easy to understand. It's very close accent.
I have some friends from Glasgow who are very difficult to understand, but I'll try to speak simply and slowly.
It's okay.
I have some relatives in Scotland that even we can't understand from Aberdeen.
Si no entendéis algo, y vamos traduciendo, ¿vale? De momento bien. Vale.
Do you want me to introduce me?
Yeah, introduce your
whatever,
about your music or whatever you want to.
Okay. Well, my name's Stephen McRobbie. I live in Glasgow. I've lived in Glasgow all my life. When I was at school, I had the idea of playing music. It was at a time that it was possible to join in with things. There was good opportunities and possibilities in the independent music scene in the United Kingdom. It was a time of small record labels, cassette swapping, letter writing, and just fanzines. A very exciting time when I was finishing school. So I had the idea to play in a group, and we started the group.
It's okay.
Okay.
Vamos, está contando cómo empezó en Glasgow, que había una gran oportunidad, había una escena musical independiente potente y muchos fanzines, muchas historias ahí de bandas y en fin. Vale. Seguimos.
So we were very lucky. We were able to release records almost immediately, even though we were very rough. We hadn't learnt to play our instruments, but it was just that kind of time of opportunities.
Why do you say you were very lucky? Te preguntaba por qué dice que fueron afortunados.
Because mostly it takes a long time for groups to have interest from record labels, but we sent our tape to 2 or 3 labels that we liked.
A tape, a cassette.
Cassette. And immediately, so it was really, it was great.
Which labels did you send?
Rough Trade, and Wham, which was Television Personalities label. It was a group that I really liked. And slightly later, Creation Records. Alan was living in London, and he liked our group too, so we released some records with him. So.
¿Traduce algunas cosas? Bueno.
Sí, estoy viendo porque les pregunto a ellos que más o menos controlan inglés, pero vamos, si vais viendo que no, decís, vamos. Envió 3 cassettes a discográficas que les resultaban interesantes. Wham Records, ¿no?
Wham,
Wham and the others.
Rough Trade.
Rough Trade. Okay. Creation Records. Okay. And on that time, you said you live in London?
No, Alan McGee was living in
Okay.
London, and
Okay.
we were travelling down to London to play concerts, and at first it was a very small audience, but the audience was people like Alan McGee, and it was.
Al principio tenían poco público.
Do you have a question?
I was going to ask you about Creation Records. How close was the relation between the group and then the label concretely with this one?
I don't think it was ever a close relationship. The label had a closer relationship with the groups that were living in London, and then when they signed the Jesus and Mary chain, they had a close relationship with them. Alan was going touring with them, and Bobby Gillespie was Alan McGee's friend, and so there was a tightness that we didn't have with Creation. We were always falling out with Creation. We got thrown off Creation 3 times.
I asked you because I didn't remember right now if you already published a single or a couple of singles with Creation. That's why I was asking, because I didn't remember.
It was 3 singles
3 singles with Creation in the 80s.
in the 80s.
And you said before that in the early days that you had no more or less a good technique. I mean, just playing. And I think, in Spain at least, I have the idea that was good for your project. I mean that I don't know how to explain that, but the thing is that the media sold the idea that your music was really good, even not being good musicians.
Yes.
It was like one way to sell your music here in Spain. I don't know if it's the same in your country, or what do you think?
I think so. I think some people saw it as a virtue rather than. It became limiting for us because we wanted to progress and change, and it was quite rudimentary what the kind of music we were playing, and it happened so fast. It was amazing. I think some journalists saw it as being very naive, childish, but maybe in a way it was seen as being quite a good thing. In the 1980s, a lot of the music was quite sophisticated in some ways, and our music wasn't sophisticated, so people probably liked it because it was something different and strong. And at first we were very isolated. When we got into there's a group, Orange Juice, from Glasgow that was very good. But by the time we were starting, they'd moved to London. They weren't really around so much. So we started in a vacuum, really. There was nothing really like it. The kind of thing we were trying to do. The groups that we liked were groups like The Fall, the Television Personalities, Swell Maps, but also we were trying to do something with melodic also. But then gradually we met other groups that were like Primal Scream and the Shop Assistants and the Jesus and Mary Chain and Strawberry Switchblade, and it combined and became more like a scene.
Okay, ¿lo habéis entendido más o menos el tema? Bueno, que sí, claro. Bueno, lo que he expresado más o menos es que es normal que hablaran a lo mejor así de su música porque era más rudimentaria, más naif, no era tan sofisticada, su estilo al tocar no era tan, no sé, tan fino a lo mejor, claro. Entonces, pero bueno, que había una escena de grupos también como Primal Scream y Jesus and Mary Chain, ¿no? Y demás que estaban ahí. Sí, un poco se ha explicado por ahí que era más rudimentario.
También preguntarle por cuáles son las bandas o los sellos que ellos consideran, según su propio gusto personal como grupo, que sentaron un poco precedente a la escena de la que ellos formaron parte o pueden considerar que han formado parte en todo caso, si consideran.
Which bands do you consider that was the president of this scene that you belong and you like? Which bands?
It wasn't hierarchical. There wasn't one group that was at the top. It was all these different dots. In the 1980s, I liked television personalities very much. I liked the Jesus and Mary Chain, Shop Assistants,
The other bands that were more like post-punk, like The Fall, for example, as you mentioned before. But I wanted to know, what do you think about the scene, the Scottish or Glasgow scene, before your scene, C86 and
C86 is scene. No, the C86 is scene, but that before your scene.
The punk era or between the punk era and the C86.
The Glasgow was very. Glasgow wasn't one of the great punk cities. Like Manchester was fantastic. It was really reacted very quickly to London, and there were groups like Buzzcocks and Joy Division, and it was a very strong scene. Glasgow was different. Punk was banned in Glasgow. Punk bands weren't allowed to play. The city council banned punk music concerts, and so there's a small town outside Glasgow called Paisley, and so, some of the punk shows were there, and people would travel out to see them. But for me, the first really fantastic group influenced by punk from Glasgow was Orange Juice. It was different. It was influenced by groups like the Buzzcocks, but it had its own identity. It had a lot of the Glasgow things about it, certain ways of playing guitar and singing, and they were a really important group. They influenced a lot of the 1980s groups. They influenced Strawberry Switchblade and Primal Scream.
They still influence a lot of Glasgow bands.
Still influence.
Any music from outside of the great United Kingdom that influenced you, or did you like pop music? Or?
Yeah, I loved the Velvet Underground and and Love, and yeah, it was a different time. It took longer to it was harder to find things. Nowadays, it's very easy to hear everything, but back then, you know, you had a friend maybe that had two Velvet Underground records, and you'd go round to his house to listen to them. It was such a different time. It was much slower you'd read about things and then you'd think, I really want to hear this group.
It was like more strong at the same time, wasn't it?
In some ways.
Castellano y tú traducción.
Venga, como quieras.
Una curiosidad, bueno, dos preguntas. La primera,
Two questions. The first.
¿Qué opinión tienen respecto al hecho de que las bandas que, no sé, los 80 y 90 eran punteras, ¿no? Británicas, sí, europeas, lo que sea, que parece que no ha habido como un relevo generacional,
que no ha habido,
es decir, vamos a ver, hay bandas nuevas por supuesto, pero siguen estas bandas. Él está hablando de Television Personality, Orange Juice, y tú escuchas a las bandas, a lo mejor, no sé, se me viene a la cabeza un grupo que sí ha vendido y arrasa, que es Franz Ferdinand, que hablan de esas bandas como referencias también. Y es como que se está repitiendo los esquemas que cuando ellos empezaban existían como referencia, y yo considero que no ha habido como un cambio generacional.
No ha habido.
Yo creo que no, porque de hecho en los festivales, por ejemplo, los cabezas de cartel cuando vienen son
siguen
grupos
siendo
de los
ellos.
80 y de los 90. Entonces, no sé si ellos, si
your,
alguna vez reflexionan sobre eso, o, ¿no? Un poco, ¿qué opinión tienen?
What's your opinion about the thing that now the bands from the 80s, 90s, they are still the main bands on the festivals, because there's new bands like Franz Ferdinand or whatever, but names like the Pastels or Teenage Fan Club or whatever, the bands from Glasgow or from the 80s, 90s have more protagonism, you know. He thinks that there's no generational.
It looks like it's not like I don't know how to say the relevo in English. It's not. There are no new big bands. I mean, in capitals, like it looks like.
He thinks that the bands from the 80s and 90s are still the big bands, and there's no a change, generational change, you know.
There hasn't been the same kind of generational changes that there were in the past. It's quite a strange time because groups don't seem to split up anymore, or if they do, they reform. So everyone seems to exist forever now, and I don't know if it's healthy or not, but it's the way. And well, the label we're on, Domino, the biggest group is Arctic Monkeys, and Arctic Monkeys seems like a different generation to me. Someone like Franz Ferdinand, because they lived in, it doesn't seem like a different generation to me. There's not the same age difference, but someone like Arctic Monkeys, I think this is a new generation, but the
Less Shadow Puppets, or
yes,
well?
yes, that's
like this.
Yeah, that seems new. Well, it seems, it doesn't sound really.
Because it sounds new, or sounds
not so
different?
much. It's just more the age. It's a new generation of musicians, but.
But why? Because of their music, their age, their.
Yeah, they're just seem like, you know, they're younger people, but young musicians now, in before we didn't hear so much music, so the Pastels were influenced maybe by 9 or 10 groups, but now everyone can listen to a bit of Tropicalia, a bit of techno, a bit of house, all these different influences, and it's very eclectic, and music's in some ways more exotic now, and but less exotic too, because everyone's heard everything, and but it can lack identity sometimes.
¿Habéis entendido? Ahí, para él en Domino, por ejemplo, Arctic Monkeys suponen una nueva generación de músicos, pero bueno, lo que ha comentado ahora, ¿no? De que la música era más exótica porque se escucha de todo, ¿no? Escuchas house, escuchas techno, escuchas... Y al final sale algo más ecléctico y más nuevo.
We're in a good situation because we're part of a label that has bigger groups like Arctic Monkeys and Franz Ferdinand, and then electronic groups like Fortet. So it's to compare the label we're on now, Domino, with Creation. The music in Creation was quite narrow. It was people that liked the Velvet Underground and Love and maybe the Buzzcocks, a few different things. But a label like Domino, there's so many different kinds of music now, and it reflects music in the world now. People have very more diverse tastes, I think, and listen to so many different types of music. You know, it's so much wider now. I in Glasgow, I co-own a record shop, Monorail, and young people come in, and you know they'll pick a couple of reggae records, you know, and then if there's a new Fortet record, they'll get that too, and then maybe a couple of New York garage records, and real mixture of different styles of music. People are very open-minded and listening to so many different things, I think.
Nowadays,
yeah.
Okay.
It's good, which is good, I think.
Sí, bueno, estaba hablando de que el sello Domino Records pues tiene abarca más estilos de música, el sello en el que ellos están. Tiene música electrónica como Fortet y demás, y no es como con Creation, que abarcaba un rango de música más cerrado. Y bueno, que ahora lo que él ve en su tienda de discos, Monorail, ¿no?
Monorail.
Allí en Glasgow pues ve a jóvenes que lo mismo pillan 2 discos de reggae, 2 discos de punk, garaje neoyorquino. No sé, la gente está más abierta ahora a escuchar diferentes tipos de música hoy en día, ¿no? Nowadays.
Yeah.
Because maybe in the 80s the people were more close to listen to music. I like this kind of music, and I don't want to listen.
I think so. I think I mean we were always excited to hear something new, but now so much world music's available that you know, when I was young, I didn't hear much music from Africa, for instance, and now in our record shop there's hundreds of music from Africa. You know, there's the Ethiopian jazz, Ghana rock music, and there's so many different things that you get exposed
where
to.
You can get inspired as well.
Yes, it can be good. It can be good.
Yeah.
You guys have your own record label, Could you tell us something about it?
It's a good question. Ellos tienen su propio sello. Bueno, I think that record label is Inside Domino.
Yes.
Geographic. It's like geographic
yes.
music or geographic sound.
Geographic music.
Geographic music is a label. Es un sello dentro de Domino que controlan ellos. Jenny le está preguntando.
Katrina and I do geographic. We in the 1980s, I was involved in another label, 53rd and 3rd. We released records by the Vaselines and our friends Beat Happening from America, and the Boy Hairdressers, who became Teenage Fan Club. And then for a long time I just thought there's too much music. I don't want to do anything like this. But then Domino, I'm good friends with the owner of Domino, Lawrence. We were one of the first groups in Domino, and Lawrence said, "Oh, because I kept saying to Domino, oh, you should sign this group, or you should sign this group." And they said, well, why don't you just have your own label then?
And you stopped to tell me what band.
Yeah.
Ellos son muy amigos de Lawrence, del manager, el director de Domino Records, porque fueron una de las primeras bandas que estuvieron con Domino, y siempre le estaban recomendando, ¿por qué no firmas con esta banda? ¿Por qué no firmas? Hasta que pues les dijo eso, montad vuestro propio sello dentro de Domino y controláis, ¿no?, las bandas que queráis. Which bands are now in Geographic Sounds?
Do you recommend us some of your bands?
¿Qué bandas tienen ahora?
There's a group called Mahershala Hashbaz from Japan. We released their records. I think they're really interesting. Yeah, maybe we could play
Yeah,
it.
it's okay.
Any videos?
Unknown Happiness maybe would be nice a little bit. It's quite a strange sound, but I found it when I heard them, I thought it was very fresh.
Son raritos, pero muy frescos.
We still got to look for the bands you have signed.
Yes.
We still haven't got to that. Myself, I haven't heard about your record label, but I haven't checked it out. So
Oh, this might be nice.
could be interesting.
It's Japanese.
Yes.
And you have a special relationship with Japan culture and Japan.
Yeah, we were fortunate. Japanese people liked our music.
You play with tennis.
Tennis courts, yeah.
Better. Japan.
Japanese group.
Only instruments.
He usually sings.
Not in this song.
Not in this song.
I like this guitar.
Absolutely, they're from Japan.
Nice.
Yeah, when I heard, I heard that group and I just thought there was nothing else like it. I thought it was very unique, and it was just to have the opportunity to release that kind of music to a Western audience was really so. It made me feel more optimistic about the idea. For a long time, I just thought there was too many records, but then Katrina and I started to hear some music that was different, and we thought it would give us a purpose to do geographic. It was a geographic sound.
So you have a clear idea about the kind of sound and aesthetic you want in the record label, I suppose. But are you trying to mix up different elements in it, or just a very concrete kind of style, pop style?
It's quite a loose idea, and it's a loose arrangement. We started Geographic about 11 or 12 years ago, and at first we were releasing many records and working on the label very hard, but then Domino said that they wanted us to do a Pastels record instead, so we've slowed down with Geographic, but got a couple of records that we're going to release soon.
Are these good times or bad times?
Jenny, sorry. No, it's because for the people who are watching us by internet, maybe we have to translate sometimes, okay? So,
I'm really sorry.
no, it's okay. I appreciate that you all speak English. Okay.
Yo le estaba preguntando
Sí.
por el sello discográfico,
Sí.
Graphic, si tienen una idea concreta de una estética y un tipo de sonido que quieren buscar, o si tienen intención de mezclar algunos elementos distintos para que sean afines, digamos. Y por otra parte también quería preguntarle si son buenos, en su opinión, o en sus opiniones, son buenos o malos tiempos para los sellos discográficos en este momento.
Okay. He wants to ask you as well if there are good times or bad times now for the record labels. What do you think?
It's very record sales are much smaller than they used to be, so it's harder to make a living now from running a record label. But it's also good times. There's really good opportunities, but it's
Es difícil ahora a los tiempos que corren un pequeño sello empiece a arrancar y demás.
Me refería en parte un poco a eso. Hay gente que opina que el hecho de que se haya producido una crisis en la industria discográfica en cierto modo beneficia a los sellos pequeños porque nunca se han beneficiado de esa supuesta prosperidad que hubo hace unos años.
He thinks that maybe is the time for the opportunity to the small record labels because of the crisis in the big industry of music. So now is the time for the small record labels.
Yes, I think that there are really good opportunities just now, and there's people around the world are connected. There's a really strong international community of people that want to hear something new, and there's lots of formal and informal channels to reach people. For instance, YouTube's really, if you release a song on YouTube with a film, people instantly are seeing it all over the world. There is that potential in the UK and I think now in France, and people are buying records again. People like physical objects, and in a way that's good because there's just a little more profit in records, so it's possible to do this. And major labels are very confused just now. They don't really know what's happening and how things are changing. It's a very confusing time, and that the confusing time presents opportunities for smaller things.
Es un buen momento porque hay mucha comunicación. YouTube es una plataforma donde inmediatamente puedes ver aquel grupo que te han recomendado, que te han dicho y demás, y la gente también, según expresa él, tiene gusto por tener un objeto físico, un disco físicamente, aunque bueno, yo no estoy muy de acuerdo en realidad, porque mucha gente se descarga música de internet. I explain you now. So, pero para los grandes sellos es un tiempo confuso en el que no están aprovechando quizá los recursos. Creo que no es lo que le he dicho. I told them that I not agree with you with that the thing that you say, that people likes to have a physical object, because I think that people prefer to download the music by internet, you know, mostly. Or I think in Spain the selling of records is down, you know.
Vinyl sales in the UK are going up now, and
el vinilo en Reino Unido sí está yendo hacia arriba, la venta de vinilos.
But compact disc sales are going down, and
pero los CDs están cayendo. It's like a vinyl is an object that it have more value than a CD.
I think it's partly generational, that and some young people maybe reject their parents listen to CDs, and then they think, oh, vinyl would be cooler, you know. I'm going to collect records, and it's been quite it's very niche in the UK. There's probably maybe just 20 or 30 independent record stores that are really good throughout the whole of the UK, and that are doing quite well. It's different. It is different times. A lot of people do want to download music for free, but there's a culture of people just don't want to pay for anything, or can't, or you know. But I think you have to educate younger people and make them understand, you know, the difference in quality and in sound,
and the importance.
And the importance of supporting the musicians, so that they can carry on and make more music.
Que bueno, es algo más de coleccionista, ¿no? También el tema de coleccionar vinilos, el formato vinilo se escucha mejor, bueno, como todos sabemos aquí que somos amantes de la música, bueno, se escucha mejor, tiene una calidad que entra, ¿no? No sé. Y bueno, lo que viene a decir un poco es que hay que educar a la gente en la compra de discos, ¿no? Para el tema de, no sé, claro, y para apoyar a los músicos y como, no sé, educar a la gente en que se escucha mejor un vinilo y demás.
Pregunta a la persona qué opina sobre el sistema de financiación de proyectos culturales, en este caso un disco, a través de sistemas como el crowdfunding, que son sistemas que ahora en España muchos músicos españoles están trabajando como un punto de arranque de sus proyectos, que les está funcionando económicamente, al menos de una forma digna. ¿En Gran Bretaña ocurre algo parecido o se sigue trabajando el sistema tradicional de llevar el disco a la compañía y que la compañía lo edite? Aquí cada día hay una mayor o una menor presencia de las compañías y una mayor
autoedición
por parte, efectivamente, por parte del músico.
Exactamente.
Ellos también tienen experiencia en eso, o sea que...
He wants to ask you about, do you know crowdfunding? What it is?
Yes.
What do you think about this kind of movement because in Spain a lot of musicians are now using this type of
Yes.
to make these records, and they auto-produce the records. The thing is changing here. Instead of go to the label and send a cassette or send a CD or send whatever, a maquette. And now here in Spain is changing. The people is now how to produce their own or helping with another people who is putting money by crowdfunding.
I think the idea of communities supporting each other and helping is really nice, but I do worry about the crowdfunding concept, that it can. I think it's quite. I think it can be open to abuse in a way of fans paying in advance for things, and I have quite mixed feelings about it. I think in some cases it will enable a film to. Quite a lot of films now, there's some degree of crowdfunding, if it's a new filmmaker, to help him realise his project, people can invest in it in this way. And
but in music?
Yes, it's happens in music.
Does it happen in the UK? Or?
Yes, for instance, a group going on tour might say, if we had a van, a kind of transport, we'd be able to travel around and play concerts. So, could you help sponsor us? And I think it creates a strange relationship between the artist and the people that are funding them, because the artist needs to feel it independent and can do what they want to do without having to produce something that they feel they ought to for the people that funded it. And I think it's I really have quite mixed feelings about it. I've seen it being abused. For instance, Universal, the biggest kind of media company in the world, are now they've said to fans, if there's any records that are in our catalogue but are out of print, would you like to contribute, and we'll press it for you. And it's I'm really, I don't know, I feel very mixed feelings about it.
Tiene sentimientos encontrados respecto al crowdfunding, porque piensa que a veces he entendido que al principio he dicho que alguna, no sé, que si está financiado por fans, pues no le parece muy lícito, ¿no? Que sean los fans los que le paguen el próximo disco, tal. About universe, about big companies, why do you feel? Because you said that big companies use crowdfunding as well.
They are starting. They have for specific projects.
Claro. Que no le parece bien que grandes compañías utilicen también este tipo de inversión, ¿no? Porque se supone que tienen dinero, ¿no? Yo creo que va por ahí el tema. Y que no le parece lícito tampoco.
Como pasó en los 90.
It's a bad use of crowdfunding, maybe.
Yes, and I think if
Mal uso de la herramienta.
I think if everything becomes crowdfunded, it creates a very strange climate. I think companies like Universal shouldn't be looking for crowdfunding. I think it's it's an abuse of the idea, and I understand it, but for me it's almost like the difference between once people become formally involved in something, they have this investment in it at the start of the process, and I find it very strange, because the artist needs to feel independent, that he can or she can do their own work without feeling this responsibility to, fans that have,
Pay back, or
yeah. I don't really know. I couldn't imagine we would ever ask for crowdfunding, but we're not in.
creo que el artista debe sentirse independiente para hacer lo que quiera y hacer la música que quiera, y si hay una inversión de fans o de gente externa, pues creo que a lo mejor pierde esa independencia el músico, que debe de responder, ¿no? A lo mejor en cierto sentido a lo que la audiencia a lo mejor le reclame, y es muy importante para él que el músico sea independiente, ¿no? The music have to feel independent of
I think so.
Okay.
I feel slightly suspicious of it, but I don't really know why.
Do you feel what?
I feel suspicious of it. I just
About what?
crowdfunding.
Ah, about crowdfunding, okay. Sí, que no... Nada más.
Estoy con él que en el aspecto del crowdfunding que parece que se ha abierto como una ventana de oportunidad a los grupos, pero que realmente para que el crowdfunding funcione necesita una gran difusión que los pequeños grupos no tienen.
Claro.
O sea que al fin y al cabo es algo que sigue siendo una ilusión, a menos que hayas tenido ya, como dicen, un buen grupo de fans detrás que te lo financien.
Claro.
Pero él ha estado hablando de...
Disagree with you.
Entonces,
Okay, he's agree with you about crowdfunding, because it's a big window that now is open to in the world of opportunity, but for big groups, or to name it groups, because small groups have the opportunity to take the money that maybe they request, because they are not renamed,
Y bueno, la pregunta era, han estado hablando del gran cambio que ha habido en la industria, porque yo más bien pienso que es un cambio, que no es realmente una caída de la industria musical. Veo que los sellos son cada vez más poderosos y los pequeños, en mi opinión, siguen siendo cada vez más pequeños, incluso algunos están desapareciendo por completo. Y con los artistas pues igual, ya en España estoy viendo que hay un nivel súper elevado y un nivel que ni siquiera encuentra un concierto en un bar. Pero la pregunta con ello me refería al principio del año 80 ellos empezaron a distribuir cintas, como decían, y ahora, sin embargo, después de tantos años, ellos ya conocían que la industria había cambiado, pero una vez la experimentan, ¿qué sensaciones tienen? Sobre todo en el objeto de difusión. O sea, ¿qué esperaban y qué se han encontrado?
Okay, he wants to ask you about the change in the industry, musical industry. You start sending tapes to record labels, and now... Repite.
Las grandes diferencias que hay entre la música super comercial y la indie, que cada vez más...
What difference can you find in the industry when you started and now?
Pero básicamente a nivel de difusión, ¿no?
Sí, yo la pregunta era lo que se esperaban, porque sabían, ellos ya decían que se esperaban grandes cambios, pero ¿qué esperaban y qué han visto realmente?
But basically in the distribution of the records, what do you expect of this, on what you can see.
I think nowadays, even independent labels are very well organised. Compared, they're better at what they do. People seem very experienced at the strategy of a release, of everything you can do to, have a record going out simultaneously around the world. The distribution network's very formal and good. There's this promotional run-up and it's highly organised, but
está todo mejor organizado, es más formal, las redes de distribución, las redes de... Continue, please.
But in the past, when there were more record sales, it was easier. There was the
En el pasado era más fácil.
there was people didn't understand, independent labels didn't really understand how to internationally release music as well as they do now. But because record sales were so much bigger, they didn't have to understand. It was much easier because you could, a record would come out and rough trade, and even a record like Young Marble Giants, an early 1980s, it would sell very well within the UK. A record would go into profit quite quickly, and these days it's like for Domino, Arctic Monkeys is a phenomenon because they sell so many records all over the world, but Franz Ferdinand do very well in some countries. They do well in Central America, certain Asian countries, and parts of Europe, and there's the tactics and skill that it takes in the lead up to releasing a Franz Ferdinand record. It's very sophisticated. It's really, there's a lot of thought that goes into it. But in a way, if Franz Ferdinand had existed 20 years earlier, they would still be selling, maybe more records than they do now. So people are better at the art of it, but it's just it's a smaller, spread out market, and you need to. It's really if I go into Domino Records in London, there's so many people work there now, and they've all got, there's the part of the label that are concerned with digital sales, their digital department. Then they've got their publishing department, the department that, that works in trying to sync the music to because there's a lot of money to be made, from getting a sync into an American television program. Musicians make really good money from that, especially on HBO.
Promotion.
Yes, so and then playing live, you can make money. And then so Domino's also got its press department, the people that work in press, the people that work in radio, and it's a very highly efficient, impressive organisation. Unbelievable, really, because when we signed to Domino in the 90s, it was just Lawrence and one other person, and then it was shambolic, but it was a brilliant shambles, and it was always releasing good records.
Just a room, a small room like a cupboard, kind of piled up with boxes of records, and he would sit on the floor.
And that was all.
He didn't even have a chair. And a telephone, I think that was...
Bueno, ha hablado un poco de que ahora mismo la industria musical, el ejemplo que ha puesto ha sido Domino Records como sello, es mucho más sofisticado, existen departamentos para internacionalización, para promoción, se utilizan técnicas más sofisticadas para saber dónde puede vender más un artista en este país o en el otro. Que la industria ha evolucionado mucho en ese sentido, ¿no? Que antes era todo, pues se ha hablado de Domino Records en los 90 cuando era solo una habitación llena de pilas de discos y estaba el director allí y listo, ¿no? Y ahora se ha creado todo un universo alrededor de la música y tal.
The independent labels that have survived in the UK, like Domino and Warp, 4AD, Beggars, they're extremely well organised now, and they've grown and they understand the markets very well.
Los sellos independientes en Inglaterra sobreviven como Warp o Domino, sobreviven porque tienen un buen conocimiento del mercado y trabajan seriamente y por eso están sobreviviendo esos sellos independientes allí.
And also what's happened, a lot of major labels are collapsing, like really, you know, like EMI was, you know, the great British label with the Beatles and Radiohead, and it's just collapsed in because things have changed and the major labels weren't able to predict what would happen, so they've just collapsed in themselves. These labels that just seemed so strong that you couldn't imagine anything happening to EMI. It just seemed such
because
a solid,
big.
yeah. and now EMI don't even have the Beatles. You know, Universal released the Beatles, and it's amazing the changes that have happened. You know, since the 80s, incredible, really.
Los grandes sellos eso están cayendo porque no se están sabiendo adaptar a los tiempos que corren y creen que porque son muy fuertes y tienen grandes bandas, ¿no? Van a durar para siempre, pero no, la realidad es que no se están adaptando al mercado, cómo funciona el mercado actualmente, y por eso están cayendo.
Me gustaría preguntar,
Sí.
estamos hablando de la industria. ¿Qué tal si hablamos de la no industria, de los sellos pequeños, que yo creo que son más, que probablemente les pilla más de cerca como grupo y en su trayectoria y tal? Me interesaba saber cuál es su opinión de ambos con relación a nuevos sellos independientes que están a nivel internacional, algunos sellos de Brooklyn como Capture Tracks, y gente que está haciendo un revival de sonidos de los 90, incluso de los 80, el sonido synth pop de los 80, el sonido shoegaze de los 90. ¿Qué opinión les merece? Si hay algunas bandas que le parecen interesantes, si no, si creen que está repercutiendo, cómo está repercutiendo en el...
Cherny, habla en inglés si quieres.
No, yo prefiero, estaba comentando algo de...
Vale,
si
como
quieres.
quieras.
No tengo problema.
Es como has mencionado varias historias así.
Tú me preguntas, no sé si quieres.
Vale. He wants to know what's your opinion both about the new... Sorry.
Indie labels.
In North America, in Brooklyn, with
Capture Tracks and new bands. This new revival sound from 80s synth pop and 90s shoegaze sound, and all these new bands that are coming. What's your opinion about it, and how do you think that it's the repercussion it has on music now?
I think just now is an incredible period of nostalgia. People are always looking back to the 1980s or the 1990s, and we seem to be just locked into all these different cycles of things repeating from before. But I think a label like Capture Tracks is an example of something that started really small, but it's very significant, and it seems to be the vision of one particular person, and it's got a very strong aesthetic. It's very recognisable. Everything in Captured Tracks has a certain look. They seem to use a lot of the same typefaces, and the graphic design is very it's good. It's quite stylish. It's influenced by a lot of British design, I think, from the 1980s, and it's one person who's really got this incredibly strong vision, and he seems to understand where things are just now. You know, the mixture of, you know, new groups that are influenced by 1980s things, and also reissuing some things from those times. I think what's happened in North America is it's really interesting. I think it's, in a way, it started to lead things again and influence music, and it's groups like Crystal Stilts and The Pains of Being Pure at Heart and Veronica Falls from London. They're in a way that I think they seem contemporary, but also they seem very influenced by 1980s music. And I mean, when we started, we were probably influenced, as I said, by a lot of 1960s music, by the Velvet Underground and Love. So I suppose this is normal for young groups. Yeah, but it's also important to, I think some groups just look back, they're not looking forwards or living in the moment, and I think eventually you need to try to find some way forward of being now, of reflecting this time. It's, you know, if you think of all the great art and music and history, it was aware of its past. To think of 1960s French cinema, Nouvelle Vague, the directors were very aware of American cinema, of Hitchcock, but they were documenting their own times, and I think musicians and artists have to document their own times and, you know, say something about the world that they're living in, rather than reflecting on how the world was 30 years ago. And so
But you think there's like a cycle who is repeating?
I think just now I mean, in terms of music, there are a lot of new sounds, you know, in R&B and mostly in black music, and but there's a lot. The means of recordings really changed, and the kind of sounds are slightly changed, but a lot of the music's looking back just now. I think to different periods. Not everyone's looking back at the same things, but it's very it seems to be a reflective time rather than a moving ahead time for a lot of musicians.
Bueno, él se refiere a que, bueno, hablando del sello ese, que para él trabaja muy bien en cuestión de, no sé, de imagen, ¿no? Que tiene una tipografía muy concreta, unos colores, unos rostros, ¿no? Esa discográfica que mencionó Cherny, ¿cómo se llama? Capture. Y con bandas como The Pain of Being Pure at Heart, ¿cuál más era? Bueno, Veronica Falls, ¿no? Y son bandas muy contemporáneas que utilizan ahí sonidos muy nuevos y demás, pero que se ve que están influenciados por por música de los 80 y 90, ¿no? Que él ha hablado un poco de un ciclo que siempre se repite. Cuando ellos empezaron, pues estaban influenciados por bandas de los 60, 70, empezaron en bandas como Love o The Velvet Underground, y bueno, que es un ciclo que se repite, pero que también hay que moverse hacia adelante y crear nuevas cosas en cuestión de música.
I like music too. I like when you listen to a piece of music, you can tell something about the people's lives. Like that, the track that we listened to, Mahar Shalal Hashbaz, the main person in the group, Tori Kudo, is also a potter. He lives in rural Japan, and he's quite eccentric in some ways. And I hear all of this in the music, and I like that. I think you should be able to tell something from listening to music about the people making the music. That's what I like.
Cuando escuchas una pieza musical o tal, siempre escuchas algo más que música, ¿no? Sino pues su entorno o no sé, las influencias que haya tenido. En el caso concreto del grupo que nos ha puesto de Japón, pues intuyes ahí que viven en un entorno rural, que tal, ¿no? Intuyes cosas, siempre se escuchan más cosas en la música, se pueden apreciar cosas diferentes en la música, ¿no? A lo que cosas que tienen que ver con su mundo.
Sobre el New Album, cuando estuvo John McIntyre aquí tocando con Ciencia hace unos años, me hablaba mucho de su interés en la producción, en aspectos técnicos de la música, más que en aspectos artísticos, ¿no?
Claro,
aspectos sonoros, ¿no? Por decirlo de una manera un poco menos fría, ¿no? Eso de técnico suena un poco a botones y tal, y no me gusta. Aspectos sonoros, ¿no? Entonces, he visto que ha trabajado con ellos en su nuevo álbum, John McIntyre, y me gustaría saber cómo ha sido la experiencia y qué ha hecho realmente, porque no aparece como productor, pero aparece como una colaboración técnica, pero ¿qué importancia ha tenido en el sonido del nuevo álbum?
He noticed that John McIntyre is collaborating in your last record, so he is interested about what job has he do
influence in the sound
in the sound of the
slow sound.
Well, a few years ago we did some music for a film. It was a Scottish director, David Mackenzie, was making his first film, The Last Great Wilderness, and we invited John to engineer it because we knew he had experience of scoring a film, and we felt very inexperienced and just wanted to get the best engineer we could, and always liked the sound of John's records that he's engineered, so we worked with him on that, and we were very impressed with his work. And then we had quite good budget when we were making this record, and we decided to work with John because I think the engineer's really important in making music. It's really the key to how the music's going to sound.
Sorry, John McIntyre have worked with you in the original soundtrack of this movie?
Yes.
Okay. Él comenta que hace unos años hicieron la banda sonora de una película, no sé si sabréis. What's the title of
The Last Great Wilderness.
Okay. Y trabajaron con John McIntyre en esa ocasión y lo conocieron como ingeniero de sonido y quedaron impresionados por su trabajo. Y bueno, continúa.
So he came to Glasgow maybe 3 times to work on the record, to record it, and then we did a lot of work ourselves. And then we went to Chicago, Katrina and I, to mix it with John. And John builds music from the bottom up. He spends a lot of time in drum sounds, just listening to the sound of a drum and sculpting it, as he says. So it's good for a drummer because the drums are always going to sound brilliant in a John McEntire record. So yeah, he'll work on the drums for hours and hours, and then everything else just throws it in. No, he's extremely talented musician, and I think it's always money well spent to have a really good sound engineer, and I like the sound of the record. I think it's I'm pleased with that, and it's a very nice studio he has in Chicago, and you know, we think a lot about how our records are going to sound. It's important to us, and the biggest decision you as a musician is who you know, the studio you use and the recording.
And choose a good engineer.
Yeah.
He played here with the CNK 5 years ago, and it was amazing concert.
Yeah. They're so technically brilliant. He's really too talented.
Bueno, que John McEntire estuvo en Glasgow, luego ellos viajaron a Chicago y allí estuvieron trabajando en su estudio, y tiene un estudio alucinante, y bueno, sobre todo han estado trabajando en, bueno, a John le encanta trabajar en el sonido de la batería, ¿no?, de drums, y bueno, se pierde ahí en los sonidos y nada, piensan que ha sido un dinero bien gastado porque es un músico con un gran talento y un ingeniero de sonido con un gran talento, y están contentos de haber trabajado con él. Creo que bueno, que ha quedado claro que ha trabajado en el sonido, ¿no?, final del disco, que están muy contentos con el resultado del trabajo que ha hecho John en el sonido final del disco.
Yo quería preguntar que a partir de la mitad del siglo XX los Estados Unidos tienen una gran estructura económica y hace que la música en lengua inglesa sea prevalente sobre el resto de lenguas. Entonces, el resto de países, como España o Francia, Alemania, Italia, estamos muy acostumbrados a escuchar música en lengua inglesa. ¿Qué le llega a Inglaterra del resto de Europa?
He speak about the musical industry in the United States in the middle of the 20th century was very powerful, so they helped to arise the music in English around the world, you know, speaking the lyrics in English. So countries like Spain or France or Italy or something, they have no choice to I don't know how to say, to make Spanish songs in Spanish lyrics, you know. They have not the power of the industry in the United States to make this thing. So nowadays, what do you receive in the United Kingdom from Spain, from Spanish music, or the rest of the Europe in other languages, or what do you receive of this music?
Yeah, it's very true. United States recording industry controls the world, and in Britain, say there, you would hear maybe a Spanish track on a specialist radio like BBC Six. Might hear something, or but usually English language. And in the United States, there's a massive Spanish-speaking community, of course, but they don't control things. the United States and United Kingdom export the most music through the world, and the English language is the most far-reaching in terms of the mass export of music. I think people have very exotic tastes now, and I like to hear, you know, musicians singing in Spanish or Portuguese or French, but that's probably a minority taste, and you know it's extremely difficult, I think, for Spanish musicians, you know, to sell in different territories. France is very protective of its culture, and the radio in France, there's a quota, so a lot of the music that's played in France will be French language music, French musicians. It's quite a high quota, and so they protect their culture like this, but it's really I find it quite depressing, you know, how the level of control that the American recording industry has in how music's disseminated, and the underrepresentation of different languages. And it's bad in the UK how we're underexposed to music from people with interest, people that seek out things like you know, like Tropicalia, Brazilian music of the 1960s became very fashionable, and everyone wanted to listen to Mutantes and Tom Zay and all these different things, but it's almost, it's just an exotic flavour now and then, rather than
in this moment.
Yeah, rather than fundamental change. I think that it's depressing.
Está de acuerdo en lo que dices, en que la industria norteamericana ha creado no sé, como una especie de forma de hacer música, ¿no? Quitando la oportunidad de que los países se expresen en su propio idioma, porque en realidad, bueno, se refiere a la industria como que es difícil que canciones cantadas en español se vendan fuera de España, ¿no? Se ha creado un poco la fuerza de la lengua internacional, que es el inglés, ¿no?
Tenemos Sudamérica, pero claro, países como Italia y eso, sí. No sé qué les llega del resto de lengua.
Ha hablado de una cadena, BBC Six. Es una cadena a través de la cual se pueden ver productos así europeos y tal. Ha hablado también de que en Francia son muy proteccionistas con su cultura y ellos siempre van a defender su lengua. Eso sí les llega más de Francia, ¿no? Que por ejemplo cantan en francés y las emisoras de radio se pone mucha música francesa.
Por ley hay una cuota que tienen que, por obligación, emitir música, películas en televisión. Es una cuestión legal.
Es una cuestión legal.
Yo veo que esa tendencia que hay en España, sobre todo en el rock, de hacer las letras directamente en inglés. Yo, por ejemplo, que vivo en Francia y trabajo en Francia, la veo, pero que no tiene nada que ver con aquí. O sea, eso es súper rarísimo que alguien se dedique a escribir en inglés.
Lo que comentaron, que yo creo que en Francia, aunque esté legislado, yo creo que apenas...
Speaking about the law in France, about that you speak about the French people protects a lot their culture, is about the law, because there's laws that, you know, make this as it's not a choice, it's what you have to do.
Yes. Is there something like this in Spain?
Pregunta si hay algo así en España.
¿De qué?
Algunas leyes que protejan nuestra industria cultural. No. No.
No hay leyes legales, aunque parezca una redundancia, no hay leyes oficiales que protejan.
There's no
Pero sí
official
hay
laws,
cadenas que
there's-
únicamente emiten música en español.
but there's channels that the mostly music that
Por
they
cierto-
shows
por
is
cierto,
in Spanish.
the worst.
No?
The worst
But they are the worst channels because they're the worst music and the worst bands. It's a pity.
Como se entiende todo.
It's a pity.
Me gustaría preguntarles, como ellos han vivido varias décadas ya en Glasgow, como, digamos, como ciudad base, si ellos ven que les ha aportado la ciudad, si les ha aportado algo a su música y si ven que la ciudad de alguna forma es un elemento que de alguna forma le influye o no, o simplemente una cuestión de azar que viven allí y ya está. Porque
Have you lived in Glasgow during decades, no? Like 3 decades or something?
Yes.
So he wants to know if the city, Glasgow, have influence in your music or something.
Dile que, sorry, I've got this, bueno, que la anécdota que tengo, yo solo he estado una vez en Glasgow y cuando me bajé del avión cogí el autobús para ir al centro y al salir del autobús, era viernes por la noche, me encontré como 200 o 300 personas ultra borrachas a la salida de la estación y del camino, andando hacia el hotel. Todo el camino era, todo el mundo es súper pasado y es algo que vi viernes y sábado y luego de lunes a jueves, que fue cuando me volví, era como
Otro mundo.
eso es, era como más cultural, tal.
He has this experience when he went to Glasgow. He arrived to the airport and take a bus, and then when he arrived to the city center, and on a Friday night he realized that all the people, hundreds of people, were drunk, and it was the same on the Saturday night. But then
That girl was
from-
saying, "Who's gonna fuck me now?" And just shouting in the middle of the street. So I don't know if it was just a coincidence or I don't know.
You were in the wrong part of
Yeah,
town.
probably.
so
Yeah.
have the city
But
influence
then on Monday,
in your job?
he had a completely opposite.
Okay.
Okay.
No,
From Monday to Thursday it was the opposite, okay? No people drunk. But the main question is if Glasgow have influence in your work
yeah,
as
we
a city, or what aspects of the city.
well we try to reflect our lives, and our lives are living in Glasgow, so it does. You know, the music's really located in Glasgow that we do. Glasgow's got good and bad things about it. It was traditionally a very socialist, left-wing city. So I think the culture within music of probably the past 30 years has been one of cooperation. The groups tend to help each other, and there's a strong music community. For instance, we're friends with Teenage Fan Club and Mogwai and Bell and Sebastian, BMX, and there is this strong, you know, the groups help each other if they can. It's quite cooperative, and yeah, living there, I think traditionally it was a poorer city, so maybe at the weekend people would just kind of celebrate living and just go wild, and probably some there's definitely, you know, people drink, you know, too much, and it can be really crazy if you're in the wrong part of town at night. It's a joyful city. It's but it's probably probably a poor city in some ways. It's got its health statistics are very bad. It's always one of the shortest lifespans in the UK as if you're living in Glasgow, but there's these peripheral areas in North Glasgow where there's a lot of drugs problems and people living in very difficult conditions. There's a lot of poverty and people without good education, but then there's an affluent part of town too, so it's this mixture between people doing quite well and people struggling, and it's
the third biggest city in the United Kingdom, I think.
I think so, yes.
So, about that, I wanted to ask you, in which proportion is it an influential music scene, the one from Glasgow? ¿En qué proporción la escena musical de Glasgow es tan importante como la ciudad como tal en cuanto a población y en el Reino Unido, que es la tercera más grande? Entonces, ¿hasta qué punto la escena musical de Glasgow, qué proporción está relacionada con la importancia?
Bueno, voy a contar un poco lo que ha dicho antes también. No, es que él ha hablado un poco sobre que Glasgow es una ciudad donde hay una comunidad musical muy buena, donde hay muchas bandas que siempre se han ayudado unas con otras, colaborando, tocando unos con otros, grupos como Teenage Fan Club, BMX Bandits, Beran Sebastian, Moway, ha dicho también, bueno, y muchísimas más que conoceremos nosotros también, ¿no? Y que hay una buena escena musical y un buen terreno donde explayarse ahí por ahí, ¿no? Y que también creo que ha dicho al principio que es una ciudad socialista, ¿no? Y muy de izquierdas, que eso pues proporciona también un ambiente bueno para él, según su punto de vista, pero que luego también hay zonas en las que hay falta de recursos y son zonas donde hay más problemas a lo mejor con temas como las adicciones, ¿no? Al alcohol, drogas o tal, que están menos favorecidas, están más desfavorecidas en el norte de Glasgow y demás, que también tienen sus problemas, pero que en general es una ciudad que very joyful, ¿no? Ha dicho, no sé, muy disfrutable y demás. Y ahora, no.
Sí, lo que preguntaba era eso, con relación a la importancia que tiene como ciudad Glasgow en el Reino Unido, en qué proporción repercute, digamos, en su escena musical, o sea, hasta qué punto, hoy por hoy, porque ya sabemos que la escena escocesa de muchos años, de 3 décadas atrás por lo menos, si no más, siempre tiene una importancia segundo plano, pero que ha influenciado mucho al resto de la escena británica.
Con mucha identidad.
Efectivamente,
¿no? Una escena con mucha identidad.
The Glasgow scene has a lot of identity.
Hoy en día también se produce eso, y que nuevas bandas hay en la zona que ellos crean que merece la pena romper una lanza por ellas, o defenderlas, o mencionarlas, ¿no?
Is this scene of Glasgow still alive in the city? And which bands can you
we lost in
remark?
translation because we sound very serious, and I don't mean to sound serious. Actually, with translation, thanks to Susanna, I know what I mean, but we talk like that.
I think Glasgow's it is a significant musical city within the UK. It has come to be associated with a certain sound, but there's lots of different musics taking place in the city. All the music doesn't sound like Teenage Fan Club, but there's lots of different styles. There's people into electronic music that aren't influenced by this kind of music at all. It's probably in the UK. I think it's one of probably the great music cities within the UK would be Manchester, Liverpool, Glasgow, maybe Bristol to an extent, and London always seems different. It's like this cultural melting pot of different things, but there's not so much a London sound, I never think. Glasgow's strong every 3 or 4 years. There's new groups that come in with different ideas. There's a Polish musician living in Glasgow just now, Ella Orleans. Her music's fantastic. Then there's a group called Sacred Paws that are really influenced. They're influenced by really interesting. They're influenced by some African music, highline sounds. It's just two girls. One of them plays drums, and the other one got a really nice guitar style. They're very cool. And then people like Mogwai have a record label, Rock Action, so they're Mogwai seem very strong within the city, and there's two DJs. Optimo, that's very influential in Glasgow. Actually, been a really big influence on a younger generation and the kind of music that they listen to. I think Glasgow seems quite good just now. There's a lot of new places to go and new music being made, and it seems strong. And some people that moved to London are moving back to Glasgow, and it seems good just now.
Bueno, que ha estado hablando sobre que Glasgow pertenece a ese grupo de ciudades en Inglaterra que tienen una escena musical como Liverpool o Manchester. No sé si se ha referido a que Londres no tiene no hay una etiqueta como el sonido de Londres, ¿no? Que no existe tanto, pero y que bueno, que grupos como Mogwai tienen bastante fuerza allí en la ciudad. Creo que ha hablado de que hay dos DJs que son de Optimus DJs que son de Mogwai, ¿no? Y se encargan un poco también de poner buena música allí en la ciudad. DJs are from
it's a night. It was a night called Optimo. It was always a Sunday night in Glasgow, and they'd play really interesting. Two DJs. And they'd play really interesting music and a really interesting mixture of house and techno, but also the first half hour they'd be playing smog records and just a strange mix of things, and they really influenced how people listen to music in Glasgow, I think.
But Optimus Night, or it's a club, or
it's a club.
It's a party.
It's a club and a record label.
Okay.
Y la escena de música en directo, de bares en los que, o salas en las que se... Porque de club sí, es cierto, por una parte está la escena de club, pero por otra parte la escena de música en directo...
The live show scene is still alive, you know, in the pubs or with concerts every week or every weekend, or is it still alive?
A lot, Glasgow's good. A lot of people go out to concerts in Glasgow, so it's really there's a very good grassroots scene in Glasgow, and there's interesting promotion. You know, people. It's not one community. There's several communities of different age groups and different tastes, but it somehow connects, and it's a very good. It's a good city to live in if you're wanting to make music, because you meet the other people that are making music very quickly, and it's quite a friendly city.
Bueno, que es una buena ciudad Glasgow para hacer música, para tocar música y conocer gente que hace música, porque tiene mucha vida en ese sentido. Es una ciudad muy viva en ese sentido. Maybe Katrina, you want to play something on the? Do you want to play something? Or
well,
it's okay.
Do you want to put on? I just kind of gone past it now, but did you want to?
I have a question, one more question.
Okay.
Maybe it's a question a little bit out of the things that we are speaking here, but I have a very special interest about Aggie. Where's Aggie? What is she doing now? Why is? I miss her.
Yeah.
She collaborated.
Yes.
Les he preguntado sobre Aggie, que es Annabelle Wright, una de las componentes de Pastels durante todo el... Creo que aparece en todos los discos. I think that she has been working in the 4 records.
Yeah, she wanted to concentrate on her artwork. That's some of her illustration there.
That is Godspeed You Black Emperor.
Yeah.
What is this?
It's a drawing of...
She's an illustrator.
Okay.
Annabelle Wright is her name.
Yes, okay.
So this is her website.
So now she's focusing in this
Yeah.
work as an illustrator.
That's the
Okay.
book.
Ahora ella está más enfocada en su trabajo como ilustradora y nos está enseñando algunas de las ilustraciones que ha hecho Annabelle Wright.
But she's that's a record cover.
That's for a Bill Wills.
That was a record we did in Geographic. She did the artwork for it.
Son trabajos para la discográfica Geographic Sounds.
Teenage Fan Club.
Para discos de Teenage Fan Club. Oh, beautiful.
I think she felt that she was better at art than at music, and I don't know if I agree, but I think she's a really talented musician too, but she decided to concentrate on art. But we played in Bristol the other night, and she was down, and she came on stage and sung Nothing to Be Done with us, so it was good.
Él cree que ella también es una gran música, o sea, que es una gran artista en el terreno de la música, pero que ahora ha decidido concentrarse más en el terreno de la ilustración. Pero que, por ejemplo, el otro día tocaron en Bristol y ella estaba allí, se subió al escenario y tocó con ellos la canción Nothing to Be Done, que es un clásico de los Pastels.
¿Qué tal la formación actual? ¿Qué puedes contarnos sobre la formación actual?
What about the actual, I don't know how to say it. No, tu pregunta. What about the actual formation team of the band, you know? All about lineup, yeah. Thanks.
Well, Alison's Katrina's sister, and she plays with us. She plays trumpet and keyboards.
Hi, Ali.
And Gerard Love from Teenage Fan Club's playing bass guitar with us just now. And Tom Crossley, who's Annabelle's partner. He plays flute and keyboards, and John Hoggerty plays guitar. So there's 6 of us really in the group just now, and it feels quite a nice line. In the history of the group, there's probably been 3 or 4 times that the lineups felt quite good. You know, it's just felt quite settled, and it's got its own sound, and it feels like one of those times. In the 1980s, we had a rougher, punkier sound, and it's more of kind of very guitar focused, kind of quite noisy kind of sound, and then there was that group split up, and then it was me and Katrina and Annabelle, and then Matt. Just at the time that we were just before we got the last Great Wilderness music, Annabelle said she didn't want to really play music anymore, and she wanted a break, so she stopped playing with us, and we built a new lineup, and that's.
When did she went?
It's about 12 or 13 years ago now, it's a long time.
Oh, 12,
So,
13 years ago. Okay.
Sí, porque habéis estado un periodo de tiempo bastante prolongado que no habéis publicado nada, pero habéis mantenido el contacto con los conciertos, ¿no? Con las actuaciones en directo, poco, pero algún contacto se habéis mantenido, ¿no?
You speak about it's a long time since you didn't feature or a new album, but you never abandoned the scene. No, you always keep a contact on playing in giving concerts or.
Yeah, we usually we were working on music, but we did the film soundtrack, and then we did some theatre music, and then we did collaboration with tennis courts. But it's a long time between records. It's not exactly practical, but it was just the way it was. It's probably not normal, but.
But you never really quit from playing from time to time.
No, we sometimes take a short period that you move away from it just to refresh and have some new ideas. Because I mean, if we, it's impossible to just keep going and making a record every year. I just don't. You know, you just don't have enough ideas. It's very rare that, you know, you can do something every year. I think there's a lot more prolific musicians than us, like The Fall or Billy Childish, but it wouldn't work for our group. It's not us.
Ellos han estado en estos años. Perdona. Ellos durante estos años han estado haciendo colaboraciones, lo que ha comentado de la banda sonora original que hicieron de una película o para un teatro, for a theater as well. You
yes.
Okay. Y para, bueno, la colaboración que hicieron también en el disco Tennis Coast, que es un grupo japonés. Y no han parado de hacer cosas, pero bueno, saben que es un tiempo bastante grande el que ha pasado, pero que puede ser que no sea muy normal, ¿no? Que pase tanto tiempo sin sacar un disco, pero bueno, que es la forma en la que ellos les ha salido y que hay muchos músicos por ahí muy prolíficos, pero bueno, que ellos es la forma en la que les ha salido y demás.
Yo creo que ese tiempo que ha pasado al grupo, o al proyecto, más que al grupo, le ha venido muy bien. A mí este disco me parece el disco que mejor sintetiza lo que han sido y lo que son de Pastels, ¿no? Es un disco que cuando lo he estado oyendo todos los días me ha parecido un disco de un sonido muy sedimentado, como si hubiera estado
this long time
mucho
that
tiempo,
you
se hubiera estado explorando mucho
give
tiempo
us
y
another new record.
Y además se ven que hay canciones como de
It's okay because now in this new record, Slow Summits, he appreciates the. Repite por favor, como que en el último disco como que has encontrado que
me parece que el tiempo que han estado sin grabar les ha sentado muy bien, porque el disco se ha convertido como el disco que mejor ejemplifica el sonido de Pastels. Si yo tuviera que enseñarle a una persona ahora mismo lo que han sido, lo que son los Pastels, seguramente le pondría
ese disco. He thinks that Slow Summits is the best record to show what the Pastels are, what they have been, and what they are nowadays.
That's very complimentary. Thank you. It reflects our lives of the past 10 years, maybe, and it's a good example of what we can do just now. The earlier records in some, reflected our lives then, and when we were making music when we were 23 and 24, we had a different energy, and but Slow Summits is quite a honest reflection of where we are now, yeah, it's got a little. It's influenced by some of the film music and the theatre music we did in our collaboration with Tennis Coats, but it's also got some things that are just, you know, very pastels kind of things. It's yeah.
Cree que es bueno, muchas gracias por el cumplido y que cree que sí que
Una opinión.
bueno, he says that it's not a compliment, it's an opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. But y eso, que cree que bueno, que este disco refleja estos 10 años, ¿no? Que atrás y refleja, bueno, la energía que ellos tienen ahora, que no es la energía que tenían cuando tenían 23 o 24 años, pero que refleja lo que ellos son ahora.
No es un disco contemplativo, o sea, yo un disco en el que veo ese punto de los 80, que ellos tenían en sus primeros singles, y a pesar de no manifestarlo de una forma tan explícita, sino hacerlo de una forma mucho más sutil y tamizada, luego los instrumentales me parece que son un acierto, porque son como bolas de oxígeno que tiene el disco en su desarrollo y lo van reactivando en cada momento.
The
Luego a mí me gusta mucho la
parts are
secuenciación de las
very
canciones,
like
cómo están secuenciadas las canciones.
small bumps of oxygen, you know, in the record.
Luego me gusta mucho la secuencia completa del álbum, ¿no? O sea, el concepto de trabajo
And the
compacto,
concept
más que de una
of
sucesión de
the full
canciones,
work
¿no?
in the
El
album,
ordenamiento, ¿no? de las
the
canciones,
order,
me pareció muy interesante.
the full concept, the order, the
Track
develop
listing.
of the songs.
Los timbres que tiene, los arreglos que tiene, el toque de trompeta, el toque de flauta, que aunque ellos siempre lo han tenido porque lo han utilizado en anteriores discos, yo creo que aquí está como más cuajado, ¿no?
In this record sounds like more established or more, you know, more
No es conveniente utilizar la palabra madurez a estas alturas del partido, es un poco más
not mature,
un poco ya antigua,
not,
pero si tuviera que definirlo sería de esa manera, ¿no? Porque es un disco absolutamente sincrético, ¿no? Que resume perfectamente de eso que decía antes, ¿no? Lo que fueron los Pastels y lo que son ahora también.
yeah. He thinks that the record resume what the Pastels have been and what they are now. He doesn't want to use the word mature, you know, or no more mature, but more, say again, no más maduro, sino, no sé, como que...
Como más compacto, ¿no? Algo mucho más sólido, ¿no? Sólido no es la palabra, unificado, compacto.
Unifies what you have been and what you're now.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time when recording tracks, but then when you put the tracks together, you're trying to make something coherent with different moods and that goes from beginning to end and is it has a narrative. So there are many different narratives that a record could have in terms of the order of the tracks and, you know, how it starts, you know, whether it's kind of really high impact or kind of gentle start. And we thought a lot about what the record was and just tried to compile something that would be a nice listen from beginning to end. And then when Annabelle did the painting for it and we did the artwork, it had a very it felt very cohesive. It felt like this is slow. Yes, she did all these paintings and it just seemed perfect for the music, and we thought, yeah, this is.
Bueno, ellos han tenido bastante tiempo para trabajar en el disco y para decidir qué canciones van aquí, van allí, el sonido que va a tener el disco entero, ¿no? Qué recorrido va a tener de principio a fin. a través de las canciones. Han tenido bastante tiempo para decidirlo y bueno, creen que ha quedado...
When we,
Bueno,
sorry.
No, it's
No.
okay. I want to
Seems
ask
like you
you
understand Spanish.
about the cover of the Slow Summits record. What did you say that Annabelle write? What did you say? Sorry.
The cover. The cover helped us understand what the music was. It just seemed so complementary, very matched. It just seemed.
To the music inside.
Yes,
Okay.
just.
En la portada ayuda a entender bien el contenido del disco, ¿no? Lo complementa el contenido musical del disco. Creen que es muy acertada la portada. It's like a landscape where you can walk and lose yourself or something.
We had a bit of a fight. Not really a fight, but we had a lot of discussion about which painting should be the cover for the album and which one the cover.
Estuvieron discutiendo acerca de qué pintura, qué diseño debía ser el de la portada del álbum.
Dentro de una serie, ¿no?
Between some different designs from...
Yeah, because we had quite a few different paintings from
Okay.
Annabelle, so...
If you put some.
Annabelle hizo diferentes pinturas y estuvieron ahí. Can you show us all, the other paintings that Annabelle did?
Maybe I can find this.
Pero la simpleza y la claridad
There's
son
another
bastante con relación a lo que decías.
Yeah, that was another
Que muestra mucho el
painting.
sonido del disco en ese sentido,
Yeah.
simple y claro al mismo tiempo.
Simplicity and the clear of the design reflects the content of the record.
Incluso,
Yeah, it was
Isn't it?
difficult.
incluso el título Slow Summit recuerda como una especie de suaves cumbres, ¿no? Que como que van bajando y subiendo. Parece también un poco recordar el recorrido del disco, ¿no? Con esos instrumentales que van
Speak
colocando.
about the
Creo que fue un poco
the
analogía
title of the
de-
record, Slow Summit. Remember us as well as a soft landscape with ups and downs, but soft. You know, it's like the record, like the music in the record.
I think we're always trying to have a connection between the words and the music and the image. You know, we're trying to do something that's really strong. And I think we were talking earlier, you know, about how people listen to music. You know, people do, you know, just get a track from Spotify and make their own the playlist to their own life. We all make a mixtape, but also we try to make something that, you know, for someone that buys the record, they're getting a very, you know, the artwork it's a kind of, it's something nice, you know, it's coherent.
Ellos intentan que en su trabajo se vea la conexión entre el título, las canciones, la música, la portada. Les parece interesante trabajar en esto y que se recuerda luego mejor, ¿no? También el producto y les parece bonito, ¿no? Hacerlo así.
En el proceso creativo, ¿cuáles pueden haber sido las diferencias con relación a otros discos? Y a la hora de componer las canciones también, si ha habido alguna diferencia o un proceso habitual, digamos, del periodo anterior, o ha habido un planteamiento previo, ha sido todo un poco más espontáneo. Y una cosa que sí que me estaba preguntando antes cuando hablaba, si ha surgido algo que ha dado algún tipo de giro a la producción del disco o a la hora de elaborar, de componer, de interpretarlo, o sea, de grabarlo, o sea, ¿ha habido alguna sorpresa, digamos, que le ha hecho algo espontáneo, que le ha hecho, no sé, siempre pregunto ese tipo de cosas, y no sé, antes hablando de esto me estaba preguntando si...
He wants to know about the creative process on this record. He wants to know if there are some difference between the the records that you did before and this creative process in this record, and if there have been some spontaneous things that happen, or
the music starts very simply, usually just with a couple of ideas, usually from Katrina or myself. And with this record, I had a guitar tuned, it's like a Nashville tuning, and so almost all the songs were written like this.
it starts with a guitar.
Most of them started with the guitar, this tuning that I liked, and then they change as we start to play them in the rehearsal room. They're usually not very fully formed when we start to play them, and then you start to get other ideas. It's quite collaborative with our group, and other members of the group are suggesting ideas. It's not presented in a very fixed way. It's quite open, and some things are surprising. I'm not surprised by melodies that Katrina comes up with, and I don't understand how Katrina does music, because
I don't understand how you do music.
The music just came to your head or something. Para ellos es simple hacer música, y casi todas las canciones empiezan tocando algunos acordes con la guitarra y entre los dos, y luego llegan los arreglos, llegan las colaboraciones a las que siempre están abiertos. No practican el juego de ir cerrando, ¿no? Sino totalmente abiertas a cualquier tipo de inspiración, de colaboración, de participación. Y bueno, que él alucina un poco por cómo Katrina compone, ¿no? Que no se explica cómo se le ocurren las canciones y eso. Yo he dicho que la música, music just simply came to your head and your heart, and you play. So.
Katrina can have quite complicated ideas but they aren't written down, but just somehow, I don't know, we probably think about music differently, and it comes to us differently, and it's a privilege of collaboration. You're surprised by what other people come up with, and then you try to respond to it. It's playing in a group, so a great thing. I always liked a group sound better than individuals. I always liked the sound of the Velvet Underground better than Lou Reed with session musicians, because I just like the group sound, the way that Can sounds, or the way that Velvet Underground sounds, or Stereo Lab, just something that's got a very unique identity.
A lot of people playing at the same time. que bueno, que aprecia mucho siempre las colaboraciones y se deja sorprender porque le encanta que la gente, que toquen muchas personas a la vez, que le gusta la música de banda, de grupo. Por ejemplo, referente a la Velvet Underground, prefiere el sonido de la Velvet al sonido de perdona que se me ha ido, de Lou Reed tocando solo, ¿no? En las sesiones de Lou Reed tocando solo prefiere el sonido de banda. Ha puesto otro ejemplo como el de Stereo Lab, ¿no? Que yo creo que es muy significativo, porque es una banda que mucho a la vez, ¿no?
Bueno, ¿y hasta qué punto se puede apreciar en el nuevo álbum una influencia directa del Instrumentals de Arthur Russell en el último álbum? Que según he leído en algunas entrevistas lo ha mencionado.
Sí. He wants to ask you about the influence of Arthur Russell's instrumentals. in this album, in this Slow Summits?
I wasn't. The Arthur Russell instrumentals were released retrospectively. Came out he recorded them in the 1970s, but they weren't available. But came out when we were starting to work, and I just loved the space in them and the kind of nice, just the relationship between people playing in a room, and the really it just influenced the feeling that I wanted to have from our music. You know, the idea of people playing together in a room with different instruments, but kind of just turning around on each other. It's really, I just think it's such beautiful music. So we didn't try to make music like Arthur Russell, but we tried to make music with that kind of spirit, the feeling of that.
Oh, that experience, ¿no?
Yeah.
Join people in a room.
Yeah.
No es que intenten hacer la música de Arthur Russell, pero sí cómo la hace, ¿no? El estilo, ¿no? De reunir personas en una habitación y hacer que toquen todos a la vez. Creo que esa conexión que se da entre los músicos cuando todos están tocando a la vez, pues es algo maravilloso, ¿no? Cuando la gente conecta musicalmente, ¿no? Cuando están tocando juntos, y ese es más bien lo que le influencia de Arthur Russell, la forma que tiene de crear música. Eso ha sido un poco lo que más le ha influenciado.
¿Todo en su disco ha sido base de instrumentación real, o a la hora de producir en Chicago se ha añadido un toque electrónico o
sí,
compuesto desde lo digital?
In this record, Slow Summit, all the instrumentals are analogic, or there's maybe in post-production in Chicago with John, you introduce something, you know, digital or electronic, or some sounds,
Yeah,
also analogic.
Nowadays it's we recorded to tape, but we also recorded with Pro Tools and Logic, so quite often you're just bringing in some effect, and so that there are digital elements in the record. It's not a purist analog record. It's not like a Neil Young record that it's absolutely recorded in a set way, and yeah, there's digital elements in it, different plugins, and yeah, it's amazing. And John's got this fantastic analog studio, but a lot of the time he's using compressors, and that are just kind of, they're digital versions, just for speed, and he's used to working with them. So it's not a record that could have been made by us 20 years ago, because it relies on modern technology, even though it's maybe often sounds older. It doesn't, you know, have the same elements as some contemporary music. It's the way it's made is very contemporary.
Yeah. Could you please put an example, or tell us an example, or in what songs did you use digital sounds or something?
There's digital. There's digital.
Or is it the treatment?
There's digital effects in every single song.
Que han trabajado con Pro Tools y Logic, y bueno, que han utilizado algunos elementos, efectos, sonidos digitales que se han introducido así en casi todas las canciones del álbum, John tiene un estudio analógico increíble, pero no se han utilizado también para masterizar. Bueno, no, the mastering is analogic, I think.
We mastered it. We mastered it to tape, and but we had digital files, and we ended up using the files. They sounded better.
Que usaron para la postproducción elementos digitales para que sonara mejor, pero luego el mastering sí es analógico.
I think it's really hard to make. I think you have to take advantage of new technologies. Really, there's no point in for the kind of music we're trying to make. It's so much easier, you know, to use Pro Tools or Logic, and it would be too expensive for us to record in the way we used to. It would need to be a very different record.
Yeah, it's very expensive nowadays. Yeah.
Even Craig Armstrong, the string arranger, who's very successful modern composer. He lives in Glasgow, and he did a string arrangement for a quartet for one of the songs, Kicking Leaves, and he composed it, and he's got really nice software with all and he wrote it like this, and it sounded great. He played us it, and he did an oboe part as well, and we brought in a quartet to play the music, but we decided to leave the oboe, which was just a sample of an oboe. We could have got an oboe player, but we just thought it was nice, you know, not to be purist and just use the sample of the oboe that Craig had played in the keyboard. So it's not a purist record really at all. It's very so many different sounds, so many.
El que cree que hay que tomar provecho de las tecnologías, ¿no? Y que hoy en día hay buenos equipos y buena oportunidad para grabar en digital y demás, y que hay que aprovecharlo. La forma analógica es demasiado cara para grabar para ellos, y bueno, han optado por este sonido que además les ha brindado mucha oportunidad de introducir en la música que ellos quieren hacer, pues les ha ayudado a introducir los sonidos que ellos querían y demás.
Sometimes people think that digital's cold and analog's really warm, and it's not really. It's how you use the sounds.
Que hay gente que piensa que el sonido digital es más frío, el analógico es más cálido, pero bueno, él no está de acuerdo. Cree que se puede conseguir también un buen sonido. Yeah, I agree with this. Yeah.
Bueno, yo como nos estamos acercando al final ya, y vamos ya como quien dice aquí, más de 2 horas y cuarto. Entonces a mí me gustaría finalizar con que ellos eligieran una canción. No tiene por qué ser de suya, sino que un grupo, un vídeo, una canción que les gustara especialmente, con la que pudiéramos cerrar esta sesión.
Okay.
Creo que ha sido muy productiva y muy interesante, ¿no? Que hemos tratado aspectos no únicamente relativos a la trayectoria de Pastels, sino se ha hablado de la industria, se ha hablado del proceso de grabación, se ha hablado de la creatividad, que es muy importante. Y bueno, yo creo que es una mejor manera que terminar con música. Entonces yo les pediría que eligieran una canción, un vídeo, si es posible, que lo pudiéramos encontrar en YouTube, y que nos lo pusieran como cierre de esta sesión. Si os parece, ahora cuando terminemos nos hacemos todo, o hago toda una foto con ellos para que de recuerdo personal e institucional, que también es muy importante, y acabamos aquí, ¿parece?
He would like to tell you that to make an end to this session, he's very he appreciates that we spoke about the industry, not all about the music, and the creativity. Okay, but to end the session, he wants to put you. Sorry. If you can choose a song, a special song, not from you or another band, to end the session.
Ah, okay.
A favorite song.
Okay.
From you. What song? It will be
Katrina.
Katrina.
We played my favourite song earlier. Don't know if you Mahershala Ashbaz on Unhappiness, which is the first song we put out on our label. It's probably my
Ella ha puesto ya una canción suya favorita. So Stephen.
Maybe put the first track from Arthur Russell instrumentals, because we spoke about this.
What song did you put to end this session?
It's an Arthur Russell. It's the first. This is a big influence on our record.
Arthur Russell. Okay.
Instrumental.
Russell en YouTube, no sé yo decir.
Sí, hay algo. Sí, hay algo. Hay algo.
Yeah, that.
This one?
Yeah.
No, después será otro.
Y personaliza ya tu cargo de docente.
Take a photo, okay, first.